Right, hopefully we've got a little bit of a... Is that fixed now? Yes.
Right, hopefully we've got a little bit of a...
It's fixed. Hooray! So... Right, are we back or not? Let's test. Woo! This is terrible. Oh no, it's gone horribly wrong. Yes.
Let's test. Woo! This is terrible.
Apologies for that. I'm having a few technical difficulties this evening. It seems. So I've got a couple of little things that I want to go through with you. Trying to get those things corrected. You can see my lights going all over the place. Right, okay. So, let's get started. We're going to dive right in. Some words, like wrinkle, have letters which aren't pronounced. We don't pronounce those letters, such as the WR in wrinkle, as you know. These are often called silent letters. Silent letters in the same word used to be pronounced a long time ago. For example, in the Middle Ages, people pronounced the k in the words like knight and knife. So you can imagine they sounded knife, knight. Okay, so I'm just going to lower that down a little bit there, just a second. There we go. That's a little bit easier on the eyes. It makes a lot of difference, does that? So I'm so sorry about the technical difficulties, so sorry about the delays there. It's not been an easy day today, so I'm just going to get fired through this live stream. Welcome if you're just joining. We're talking about silent letters. So what about gnat, gnome? What about knife, doubt? These are some of the words that we're going to look at, we're going to practice. So a knight, spelt K-N-I-G-H-T, is a person who's usually armoured in a solid steel suit. In the Middle Ages, the knights of the realm, they were servants of the queen like soldiers. Alright, you might have seen them riding on horses, perhaps with lancers. Perhaps you've seen them portrayed in TV series, movies, etc. So a knight is a very old type of soldier, and a knight would usually stand guard, or many of them would stand guard in the castles around the UK and protect the castles, keep a lookout for the enemies. So that's a good one, knight. Second one is a baby sheep, which would be, yes, that's right, you got it, a lamb. Lamb. And the thing about lambs is it's spelt L-A-M-B. L-A-M-B. So there are many lambs in the field. Okay, the lambs are very cute and fluffy. And yes, lamb. Now, lamb is actually a dish that comes up in the British summer menu. After the lambs have been born in the spring, they get fattened up, and then sadly they end up on people's dinner plates in the summertime. And it's usually served with such as mint sauce, roast potatoes, mixture of seasonal vegetables and some gravy perhaps. A delicious summertime treat, I think. Roast lamb. A gnat, spelling G-N-A-T, and a gnat is like a little fly, very, very small, and they swarm in clouds. In the UK we call them, or the most common type are midges, but there are a family of them, and I was looking up at this earlier on. So yes, a gnat, or a cloud of gnats, is a swarm of very, very small flies. It's much smaller than the house flies that you're probably familiar with, and you would find these in the UK during dawn and dusk, especially around areas of woodland and still fresh waterways, such as a pond perhaps, maybe a lake as well. So those are little critters that people, they make the summer very unpleasant, I think. Alright, the next one on our list is knife, K-N-I-F-E, an object used to cut something. So what things could we cut with a knife? Well, we would probably cut meat, cut vegetables, or chop them, depending on the type of knife that you're using, such as a cleaver, other cutting knives, etc. Notice when I said there that the plural is cutting knives, we have to spell that slightly differently because it's irregular. Alright, so when we talk about cutting knives, it's spelled K-N-I-V-E-S. Alright, and we could say that someone has the knives out for someone, means that someone doesn't like someone else. K-N-I-V-E-S, knives. Okay, so watch out for that one. And yes, I do have some knives in my kitchen. They're hung up on a rack. Perhaps I'll take a photo of those, and I will attach them at some point in another video, or perhaps we can discuss those in another video, another upload. Apparently I'm on 96 uploads now, so not far from 100 now on YouTube, which I've got to say I'm very proud of, an achievement that I'll be very proud of when I hit that 100 video milestone, something I'll be delighted with. Plumber, a plumber, P-L-U-M-B-E-R, P-L-U-M-B-E-R. Notice how I say it. I don't pronounce the B in this one. Plumber. And a plumber is someone who fixes the pipes. Example, if the pipe burst or there was a crack and water started leaking out of the pipe from a washing machine, a toilet, a sink, for example, I would call a plumber. The plumber would come and take a look at the job, give me an estimate for the price, to which I would agree, because you don't want running and leaking water all over your house or apartment or wherever you live. And the plumber would then get the tools necessary, get the parts necessary, such as replacement pipes, etc. And the plumber would then refit the broken pipe. So a plumber is the answer to that next one. Now, when we're talking about garden ornaments, one might think of a gnome. A gnome, spelling G-N-O-M-E. So that's Golf November Oscar Mike Echo. Gnome. And I remember a film that I usually show, or we watch with our students occasionally, and it's called Romeo and Juliet. Perhaps I'll give you a review about that another time. Romeo and Juliet, a film produced by the great Sir Elton John. If you have never heard of him, look him up. Look up the film. I'll put that in the chat a little bit later on. Romeo and Juliet, providing I get a reminder on that one and I don't forget. And yeah, gnome, a garden gnome. Typically they would be topped with little pointy hats. They would be constructed from pot, like clay pot perhaps, and then painted, hand decorated, and they sit in the garden, and people in many countries have gnomes in their gardens. So yeah, very cute little garden ornaments that you can have in your garden. Garden gnomes. Good. Island. Island, spelling I-S-L-A-N-D. I-S-L-A-N-D. And if you look up the word island, I'm going to put this one through the dictionary and then I'll tell you exactly what the definition is, because it's not easy. Sometimes you get confused. A lot of people get confused with what an island actually is. So an island is just a small plot of land, isn't it, basically, that's in the sea. And you might have a remote island, a desert island perhaps, and you may also have other types of islands. So yes, very good. We'll have a little look at those. Do you know any islands? Have you come across any islands? An island is an isolated piece of habitat that is surrounded by a dramatically different habitat. Example, water, very small islands. Now, where I live at the moment, which is Indonesia, it's estimated that Indonesia has, as a country, has the most amount of islands. The archipelago has the largest number of islands anywhere in the world, and it's thought to be around about 17,000. Now, even the Indonesian government doesn't accurately know exactly how many, because it changes, all right, and it's based on the time of day and the sea level, because some of these islands are so tiny that when the tide is high, they disappear underwater. When the tide is low, they reappear. So based upon the tide, Indonesia has a different number of islands each day, and I assume with each hour of each day the number of islands in Indonesia changes. So yes, we've got to watch that. A solemn. A solemn. Yes, apologies for that, guys. I'm back now, I believe. Am I back? Yes. A solemn. Solemn. So we're going to have a look at a solemn. And what is solemn? Well, let's have a look and I'll tell you. We can get a clue from the word. Spelling S-O-L-E-M-N. Solemn. Solemn. And it means, it has different meanings. It can be dignified, all right, to have a dignified presence. They said when the Queen was sitting alone at Prince Philip's funeral, she was very solemn, meaning that she has a dignified presence. Not cheerful or smiling. Very serious, a very serious appearance, I think. And it says, characterized by deep sincerity. He swore a solemn oath to keep the faith. Solemn. Another tricky word there. Another one. And the silent letter in that one, solemn, is the N on the end. Spelling again, S-O-L-E-M-N. Solemn. Solemn, yes, and not a very nice word, I don't think. I'm going to give you some other examples of that. Let's have a look. So yes, we said that, very serious in a formal manner, behavior or expression. A solemn procession, a solemn face, done or made seriously and thoughtfully, a solemn promise. All right. Other words from solemn: solemnly is obviously an adverb because it ends in ly, and as I said, we can have some other definitions and meanings and some examples on this one. We'll have a look at some examples of this particular word. So it's not an easy. It says the Star Trek Twitter account marked the solemn occasion. Ryan Parker from the Hollywood Reporter. The royal family is marking the solemn occasion by giving their social media profiles a temporary update. So there we go. I was talking a little about the royal family, Her Majesty the Queen, earlier. And this is another example from the press recently. How marvellous that musical theatre could do this for Washington on such a solemn occasion. So 3 real-world examples for you there, guys. If you're joining and catching on VOD, great. If you don't, it's okay. The next one, psychology. Study of how people behave, I think, is perhaps one good way of putting it. What is the psychology behind? What are the thought processes of something? Spelling: psychology. Psychology. And a silent P is the offending letter there. Psychology catches a lot of people out. Spelling again: psychology. Psychology. Okay, good job. So what is the psychology of something? What are the thought processes of something or someone? And what is the psychology? Well, let's have a look at some meanings, okay? And examples. And we're going to have a look at the psychology, and I'll just talk a little bit about this. She had an undergraduate degree in psychology. She's a specialist in crime psychology and behavior. He studied philosophy and psychology at Cambridge. She studied psychology at Harvard. So if you then say, what is psychology? And it says the definition of psychological. The definition of psychological is something that relates to the mind or mental actions. Okay, so to do with the brain. And an example of a psychological test is, of course, an IQ test. An example of something psychological is also bipolar disorder. Now, a bipolar disorder is where somebody has, it's like a split personality. You know, one moment they can be very cheerful, very happy, and themselves, and then we know something might happen and it triggers a change in the mindset so that person's personality can be totally different. A very unusual, not unusual, it's more common than people think, bipolar disorder, and scientific research on that is ongoing. I suspect it's a condition that's been diagnosed in recent decades, and it's only coming to fruition in recent times that, you know, people can have split or different personalities. So yeah, a very tricky one, that. Whistle. Whistle, W-H-I-S-T-L-E, of course, can be the verb there. Whistle. You can have a noun, the referee's whistle, you know, for a game of football, for example. And yeah, there we go. So whistle. Wren. Oh, I remember this. And if I remember... Oh, let me just go back to whistle. W-H-I-S-T-L-E. And the silent letters there are the H, I think. Whistle. Yes, whistle. So, W-H-I-S-T-L-E. Yes, he's got to be the H, hasn't it? So, there we go. Now, a wren, if I remember rightly, is a type of bird. And I'm just going to clarify this. But let's have a look at this. And yes, it is a type of bird. I was right. A small, short-winged songbird found chiefly in the New World, whatever that means. USA, probably Canada. Any number of small songbirds that resemble the true wrens in size and appearance. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, it's in the UK, and it's a member of the former Women's Royal Naval Service. Yes, of course, the wrens. Yes, and the origin of the word is a wren, and it says first world, originally in the plural from the abbreviation WRNS. Alright, so a little bird, a little songbird. You quite commonly find these types of birds, I think, in the warmer seasons, spring, summer, and probably the beginning of autumn. You probably wouldn't see many of them during the winter. Most of the birds in the UK generally disappear during the winter time. So good, wren. What about this one? Going back to wren, W-R-E-N, silent W on wren. Alright. This one, of course, thumb. Thumb. T-H-U-M-B. Thumb. And the B on the end of this one is silent. Okay. We don't say thumb. Thumb. T-H-U-M is the pronunciation, but it's spelt with a B. So the B is a silent letter on the end. Hymn. Hymn. A song that is sung in a church is often referred to as a hymn. H-Y-M-N. Hymn. And the N on the end of hymn is not pronounced. It's a silent letter, one of those sneaky silent letters. Doubt. Doubt. D-O-U-B-D-T. D-O-U-B-T. What am I talking about? D-O-U-B-T, of course, doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt, I had to write all of these down, because otherwise I would not remember all of these words before going live, and certainly trying to manage everything else that goes along with live streaming, the hazards of live streaming. So doubt, it can also mean when we are not certain of something. Okay, so I doubt it will work. I doubt she'll be on time. I doubt it's going to rain today. Okay, 3 examples, meaning that we're not certain of something. The next one, I don't know whether I dare say this one. Of course, it's a bomb. A bomb. And the spelling B-O-M-B. Silent B on the end there, guys. Well, we hear a lot about bombs in the news at the moment with what's going on in world affairs. A bomb. Okay, London received a bomb threat. Paris has received a bomb threat. Washington received a bomb threat. So those are 3 key examples, or quick examples, about bombs. Alright, an explosive device designed to cause damage or harm to people or property. A terrible, terrible thing, a terrible device, obviously. Nash is another one. and I'll spell this for you, chat. It's Gnash. Gnash. Okay, and it means, it's a tricky one. Is this? Not one I've come across for a very to strike or grind the teeth together. Of course, I remember a comic, and the comic was called Beano, and I think one of the characters in that was Gnasher. I haven't used this word for a very long time. Gnash, to grind your teeth together, possibly in anger, like that. So a gnash is a good one. The monster roared and gnashed his teeth. The news caused great wailing, and gnashing of teeth are two examples. So gnash can be with the teeth when you're grinding them. It depicts anger. A word that I haven't used for a long time. Paslam or salam, I think it is. A paslam. Is it a paslam? A salam? We'll have a little look at this one, because this is a biblical type of term, and it says, also known as paslam or pasala, is the first book of Kelvium writings, the third section of the Tanakh. Is that correct? I don't know if I said that correctly or not. I'm going to just find that out in a moment. Islam. Let's just read that. So yes, it says the Book of Islam's. Of course it comes from Hebrew, right? Also known as the Psalms or Psalter, is the first book of Ketuvim, the writings, the third section of the Tanakh, and the book of the Old Testament. So a biblical type of term there, all right, associated with Hebrew and obviously Christianity. So a long story on that one. Paslam or salam. Salam is the answer. The p is silent. Okay, salam. So taken from the Middle East. Another lovely word there. Pterodactyl, of course, the old dinosaur, and it's a silent p on this one, and a lot of students have difficulty with this one. Pterodactyl again. Pter Ptero dactyl dactyl pterodactyl. 4 syllables on that one. We'll have to get a video done about syllables, guys, and we'll I promise I will get that done just as soon as I find time. Pterodactyl, of course, the large winged dinosaur, or from the prehistoric animal. Rather large beak and large wings. Not a very friendly bird. Could I call it a bird? Not really. Probably the probably the worst way to describe a pterodactyl. I'll just have a little look at this. Is a pterodactyl a real dinosaur? Is one of the suggestions coming up. It says, while pterodactyls are not classified as dinosaurs, they still have a lot in common with other prehistoric predators, and we still have much to learn about them. The rarity of fossils leaves major gaps in our knowledge about Pterosaurus. How did they evolve? Flight. Alright, so yes, a rather large flying animal, not very pleasant, something that I wouldn't wish to meet if they were still in existence. Definitely not. Quite a frightening prospect. Thistle, 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 Thistle. Okay, Thistle. So the second T on that one is not pronounced. Thistle, Thistle. Okay, so a thistle is a very short, spiky green plant. Okay, so I'm going to try and show you a picture of these so you know what I'm talking about. Usually you'd see these are in the winter time, in the winter months, because obviously we have Christmas in the UK, and thistle is one of those traditional plants that shows up during those cooler months. So let's have a look at the images on a thistle. So yes, we would generally say that it's small, spiky, not a very pleasant thing to come across. There are different species of thistle, I'm led to believe here, so something that I wasn't 100% sure about. I'm not too I haven't been green fingered for a very long time, meaning I don't do much gardening these days, living in an apartment as you do or as you don't. But here is what these things look like. A thistle. Okay, so let's go there and we'll go there. Okay, so yeah, a very short, spiky little flower on the end there. Those are the thistles when they're flowering. And of course, in different parts of the world you would have different types of thistle, or what are classified as different thistles. I remember them as being short, green, very spiky little things. Okay, and you might see them around about December, Christmas time. This is the kind of thing I'm thinking of. Perhaps this is like an unflowered version. We can see here over on the right hand side here, look, they're very short, very spiky, not very pleasant to handle. Alright, not very pleasant to handle, and I would suggest, yes, you don't need to touch them if you see them. Comb, of course, when we have to comb our hair. I don't have that problem these days, as you can tell, but some people might need a comb. C-O-M, silent B on that one. Comb. Comb. Design. Of course, design. We need to design things before we build them or make them. Spelling D-E-S-I-G-N, and it's a bit like sign, isn't it? Take the D off, you've got sign. So a silent G there, design, silent G. Okay, a season of the month, and in the USA they would call this season fall. If you can guess what it is, we don't have anyone in chat, so it's autumn. Autumn. A-U-T-U-M-N. A-U-T-U-M-N. And the N on the end is silent. Autumn. We might also say the weather is turning more autumnal. Particularly in Australia at the moment, in South Australia. They've got cooler temperatures down there, a lot of rain. And you know, they say that it's becoming more autumnal. It's becoming more autumnal down there, mate, I'm afraid. Knee, of course, part of your leg. K-N-E-E. Knee. Silent K. And we also know that word no. Another word with silent K. Alright. But if there's no K in no, then it's now. No. Listen. Something that I always say to my students. Listen carefully. Listen carefully. L-I-S-T-E-N. Listen. Listen. We don't say listen. 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 All right. Listen. So that's a good one. Bristle. Bristle. Like a short component of a brush there, I think. Bristle. A bristle is something that's brush-like. And I'm just going to give you the definite meaning on that one, because a short, stiff hair, particularly one of those on an animal's skin. Alright. A man's face or a plant. They could call these bristles. If I was growing a beard or a moustache, I would first have bristles, because those are developing hairs. Verb. Stand upright away from the skin, especially in anger or fear. To be covered with or an abundant. The roof bristled with antennas. The previous example, the hair on the back of his neck bristled. Right, so a good one there. Short little hairs. As I said, I thought that might be the meaning there, which is a good one. Right, so that's that. All done with those, and I'll just put those there. Little notepads and stuff like that I have. So we'll have a little look at some other examples of silent letters before I end this stream. Let's have a look. Bristle, silent letter. And we'll have a look at the R. We've got a few here actually. So we can see here. I'll just put some of these. So what do you think this one is here? It's quite a tricky one for me to see, because I think that one, well, I think this is a good one actually. We'll start with this one here. This one would be a knot. Okay, silent K on knot. Silent K on knot. Now this one, let's have a look at this. This one would be the wren, I think. This is the wren that I spoke about earlier. If I put that into full screen, that'll make it easier, won't it? Of course, a device used to mix things. Is it there? A whisk? A whisk? Is that? It looks like a whisk to me, but anyway, we'll see about that one. Some of these are a bit tricky. Let's have a look. Can't zoom in on those. So let's do the ones that we can easily see first. Right is this one. Of course, you have a silent W in right. This one here would be, I think, knee. Okay. Now, when I was a little boy, I used to do this a lot, and the answer there in this one is kneel, isn't it? Of course, kneel. So we'll put him there. Now, I don't know if you can see this picture here. This is definitely the knight that we spoke about earlier. So that now leaves us with a knife. That's probably going to be the knife. The wreath. The wreath. You see these at Christmas time in countries where Christmas is a thing, celebrated. Europe, US, and in other countries, I think. But certainly you might also see them if there is a commemoration. Example, the Queen lays a wreath in November honouring the World War II dead. Alright, the people who passed away and died as a result of the Second World War. And the Queen would lay a wreath, so that's another occasion where she might lay a wreath, or you might see a wreath. I know the President of the USA, he might also do that on Vets Day and other times of year. So now we've got wrap and wrist. Well, that one must be wrist. It's quite a tricky one, that, I think. Not a great picture. This one must be wrap, and I hope we're all correct on that one. Hooray! 10 out of 10 for me there. So we'll have another look at the next one. I've got windows all over the place at the moment. So yes, we'll have a look at the next one before I end this stream. I hope you're enjoying the VOD, the catch-up, and we'll get straight into this one. It's KN and GN. Okay, so here we go. And we have lots of silent letters here. And what did I describe earlier? I think this one is a gnome. It's a gnome, okay? Of course, we spoke about this one earlier as well. A knee. A knee. Notice I never pronounce the k on this one. Okay, let's have a look at this next one. What do you think this person is doing? There's a clue. And of course, it is a knock. Okay, when you knock on the door, it's like this. That was a good bit of synchronizing, wasn't it? Knock on the door, a knock on the door. Oh my goodness me. What on earth is that? Well, it looks like some kind of water buffalo, doesn't it? It's not one of those. It's not one of those. A knead is when you knead the bread. Knitting, it's not that. It's not. It must be new. Is that right? Well, maybe it's a. I don't know. A female. I'm going to check that one in a moment. Yes, we talked about a gnat earlier. A microscopic, very small fly. Usually they swarm, and the swarm is called a cloud apparently. So there we go. This one, doorknob. Of course, a doorknob. Just tick that one there. That's a good one to get. And then this next one. I remember my Auntie Jenny. She used to like to do knitting. KNITTING. So silent K there. All right. And that leaves us with knife. Knife. Remember the plural, KNIVES on that one, guys. So knife. And then finally, yes, that's right, to knead the dough, and that process is designed to try and get air into the dough. So if you imagine things like cakes, etc., and what they do then is they might let it rest before shaping it, putting it in a pan, and then baking it. For example, if it was a cake, you would of course bake a cake. Now I wanted just to check what this one is. A GNU. So I'm gonna. What on earth is that? Let's have a look. If you type that against any word there, we'll find out. A new.
New.
New. Yes. It is a large, dark African antelope with a long head, a beard, and a mane, and a sloping back. So it looked to me like it was some kind of water buffalo, but it might not be. It might not be correct. So yeah, there are other meanings and definitions of that as well. So we've got to be careful that we're looking at the right one. Yeah, wild animal, cow-like type thing, I think, is the best way. I'm not an animal expert, so there we go. Right, well, I hope you really enjoyed the stream. I'll tell you what I'll do today for you. If you enjoyed it and you want to learn more about pronunciation, you really should go try and watch this video just here. Okay, take care, and I'll see you soon.